Hi, everybody. This is the week 10 overview. Can you believe it? Week 10. We only have 4 weeks left, week 10, 11, 12, and 13, because if you'll recall, this is a 13-week course, and that's it. That's all that's left. I wanted to remind you, one, that this week we have an overlap. So because this past week and weekend, there were some holidays that some of you may have celebrated. Instead of making the due date for everything in week 9, April 17th, which was yesterday, Sunday, it is all due today. So some of you will be finishing up some things from week 9. So let me just remind you what those are by looking at the agenda. So you want to finish the data talk on recycling. There's been some awesome stuff in there so far. Some people have actually, been doing some extra research to kind of see, how maybe the graph would change if we graphed it now, because this is an older graph. But you definitely want to jump into this conversation. Post your at least 2 replies to your classmates by tonight. Also, we're beginning our Guru final project, and so you want to pick out a data set. So a couple people emailed me to ask, kind of some guidelines for questions and that kind of thing. So right now, I just want you to send me questions that you're curious about. And so we will be adjusting the questions as necessary as you start looking at your data sets. So the biggest thing is for you to go through our Guru and find a data set that is of interest to you. Okay. And then from that, give me a question, maybe a couple questions that you're curious about, and I'll help you to tweak it as we go along. And then finally, other than the one homework assignment from last week, you need to take your test 3. And so don't forget to turn in your work, because without work, you don't get credit, even for the ones that you get right. You don't get credit without showing your work. Okay. And you want to make sure you upload that within 1 hour of taking the test. Okay. So let's get into week 10. Yay. So this week, we're starting chapter 9, which is one of my favorite chapters. We're going to start talking about hypothesis testing. We're going to take it really slow. We're actually not going to do a whole lot of full hypothesis tests this week. This week, we're just kind of easing into it and learning some of the basics. So for our videos, we've got hypothesis testing, one population, where it breaks down all the different pieces. But I also am creating a Newton homework tip video that I'm going to try to have posted hopefully today, if not by Tuesday, to help you out with some of the homework assignments, just because of the way some of the questions are presented. I think you might benefit from some tips. And then we have our data talk discussion. So because we had the overlap from last week, and some of you are finishing up last week's discussion, I wanted to make sure that you didn't feel overwhelmed. So instead of the initial post being due Wednesday of this week for the week 10 data talk discussion, it's going to be due Thursday. Okay. And then, rather than doing any extra assignments this week, we're going to be working on our final project. This week, I'm going to be, today, I'm going to be going through all of your proposals for your research questions and your data sets today and tomorrow, because it's not due until tonight. And then I am going to give you feedback through the gradebook. And so if you need to make any adjustments, please look at that so that you know what you need to do. And then I'm very flexible. I want to help you guys make sure that you are doing the project the correct way the whole time we're going through. So either today or tomorrow, check out the gradebook and see what I've said about your data set and whether it's approved or not. And once that has been approved, you can start section 2 of the project, which is exploratory data analysis. And I'll open that up in a second and talk a little bit more about that. And then we've got 4 homework assignments. So let's go to the week 10 assignments, and I want to show you a couple things, one with a project and one actually with a data talk. So I just want to show you that I have posted, is the week 10 discussion. So if you need to finish up the week 9 discussion, you need to scroll over. Okay, and then you can finish up your group discussions on recycling. Okay, and then I just wanted to show you that this week, you guys, this is one of my favorite graphs for the data talks. It's called the Ultimate Data Dog, and you can see there's a coordinate plane here, but I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want you guys to study it and see if you can figure it out. It's a really fun graph, and it's actually one that I showed some of my family members. Like I did a video chat with them and shared this graph because we love dogs, and we had some really great conversations. And these are family members. I just want to let you know, who aren't really into statistics, but they did enjoy this graph. So hopefully you will have fun with this one this week. Let me close that. So then getting to the final project. So this is the same folder that was posted last week. I've just added that this week we want to specifically work on part 2. And so what I've done is I've pasted part 2 here. So let me just remind you what it is. So once you have had your data set approved and a question you think you might be researching, again, I'm telling some of you guys as you're going through, you may want to like narrow it down, or it may adjust depending on what you see in the data as you're going along. You might be curious about other things. And once we get into hypothesis testing fully, you may adjust based off of what you're learning in that topic. Since you have to do a hypothesis test for these. Anyway, so I need you to include the dataset name and the repository name again. And then you're going to use Arguru to create a table to display your data. Include title and label. So title your table and just make sure that you label everything. So like, let's say you're doing, your data is shoe size. So make sure that in the table, you've got the column for shoe size labeled. And then you're going to do some summary statistics. So here are some examples of summary statistics that we've talked about: mean, median, sample, standard deviation, 5-number summary, outlier boundaries, etc. If you need more ideas, see chapter 2. You can also email me, or you can post on the discussion Padlet, which, by the way, I've moved to over here. It says discussion board Padlet wall. Not many people have been using it, so I just wanted to remind you where that was. It's actually always been there. I just don't have it at the top of course materials anymore. Okay, so back to this. So then you need to create at least 2 graphs and a commentary. So the commentary is just where you're going to explain what's going on in your graph. Examples are box plots, scatter plots, histograms, pie charts, bar graphs, etc. Tables, graphs, everything you're going to do, you're going to create in Arguru. And Arguru allows you to cut and paste into Word documents or into other types of documents. I know I've cut and pasted into Google Docs. I'm sure you can cut and paste into slide presentations. However you've decided you want to present your project to me, I'm sure that will work. If you have any trouble, let me know. And then you want to give, write out in words a description of what you're seeing with the statistics and with the graphs. Like things you could talk about is the shape. Think of skewedness, if there's outliers, where the center is, what the spread is, etc., etc. So what you're going to do is, when you click on Final Project, you can click on, once you do your part 2, you can click Turn in Part 2 here. Okay, and so I'm not going to grade it, but I will give you feedback on it, so that way if you need to make any adjustments or changes, you can, or, we can just start a discussion about that section, so that we can keep the dialogue open, so that, when you do need help, you can come to me. Anyway, so I thought it would just be a good idea. So this is not for a grade, but it's just kind of like one, give you motivation to actually do this section this week, because you can work on other sections in the next several weeks, and you can get my feedback, and you're not waiting till the last minute, etc., etc. And then if you didn't turn in your data and research question approval last week, I've put that here again, and then below here you see we've got the final project where I've cut and pasted it here, as well as I have it as a doc and a PDF file for you. Okay, so this was a little bit lengthy for our overview for the week, but we're kind of finishing up week 9, we're starting week 10, and we've got this whole project thing that I know some of you guys are a little bit nervous about, but I don't want you to be nervous, because I'm going to be here with you every step as you go through. So this week we're working on part 2. Next week we'll start working on part 3. And as you have questions, definitely keep those coming. I'm happy to help you throughout and lend you support. And just to remind you that for the final project, if you turn in basically a rough draft by May 6th, then I will give you feedback on the overall project and then get it back to you to make necessary corrections. But if you're turning it in pieces, like I'm kind of setting this up, part 2 this week, part 3 next week, you can get feedback along the way instead of waiting till a week before the end. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking now, because I've been talking a whole lot, and let you get started with the week. All right, have a great one. Hope to hear from you guys.